Hey everybody, it's Nerdy Cooking Lady, and today we're going to be making Beasting cake, which is a German holiday tradition. And we're going to be starting out with the cake, which requires flour, some sugar, an egg, our butter, and some yeast. Oh yeah, we also got our milk and a little pinch of salt. So, you know the drill. Let's get going. Alright, and according to our recipe, we have 3/4 cups of flour. We're going to put in, I do believe it is 2.5 teaspoons of yeast. 1.5 teaspoons of yeast. Going to put in our 1/2 cup of sugar. We're going to mix that up really well. Oops, almost forgot our little pinch of salt. Now we're going to mix it up really well. In the meantime, I have my 2.5 ounces of milk, and I'm going to nuke that in the microwave for 30 seconds. Not enough to get it really hot, but enough to warm it up so we can melt our butter into it. And that is about 1/3 cup of butter, I do believe, but I'll double check. Okay, our milk is warm, and I'm going to put our butter into it now. Whoa, I shouldn't have dropped it in. Oh, well. Didn't know that was such a far jump for butter. Dang it, True Flat. Anyway, this is going to melt into the milk because the milk is a little hot. Once we have that all mixed in and melted, we're going to add that buttermilk concoction to our cake. Okay, we're going to add that buttermilk concoction. We're going to mix it up a little with our whisk. And then we are going to change to the mixer's bread hooks. And I'll show you that in a minute. Alright, our cake mixture is more like a dough now. Pretty loose. Reminds me of kind of like cookie dough or pizza dough. Instead of kneading that, we're going to take it over here. Put on the light. We're going to use our bread hooks on our mixer. And they look like these swirly mahooky doos right here. They're going to go in there and make it a more unified kind of dough. Now, I'm not sure how much of mixing of the dough I can show you, just because of hand usage and stuff. That didn't sound dirty at all. But if your dough starts to get too sticky, you need to add just a pinch more flour. It's not going to hurt anything, and it's going to make it a better dough in the long run, because what you're looking for is a non-sticky but pliable dough in the end. But I'll show you that in a minute. Alright, this is after about 3 minutes of it, and the dough is very nice. It is a little sticky, so we're going to give it a poof of our flour. Poof. Maybe just a little more than that, because it needs to form a loose ball. Well, that's looking pretty good. So not too much or it'll get too dry. Then we'll show you the next step in a second. Okay, the next step is fun. It's the waiting game, because I get to put our dough ball in here. Already greased out the bowl some. We get to wait about an hour. But we're going to cover it up with one of our towels first. That's better. Alright, we're going to put that in the fridge for about an hour. Alright, now our next step is going to be making the custard vanilla filling, which needs Jell-O pudding. It needs sugar, butter, milk, and confectionary sugar. And I'll show you how we mix all that up in a second. First off, for vanilla pudding filling, I'm going to take about 2 tablespoons roughly of the milk, pour it in, and get it mixing up. I added up putting about 3 more tablespoons of milk in there, but it ended up with a custard-like consistency for our pudding. Gonna take the remaining milk that we didn't put in our pudding, which is still almost a whole cup, Put it in the saucepan till it starts to bubble a little bit. It's going to simmer at a really medium to low heat. I have it on number 4 for my stove. But I've added our pudding custard in and our butter, and it's all starting to melt. We're going to take our whisk, nice plastic one so we don't scratch anything, and start mixing that in thoroughly. So it turns into more of a not so lumpy mixture, but a smooth one. Alright, our mixture is a lot thicker than it used to be, but still pliable enough. We are going to add our 2 sugars in. And I'll be putting the exact amounts into the description for you. I'll mix that in while it's still hot. Right, our cake filling is a thick pudding custard now. Little tiny bit of lumps from the sugar, but that's nothing a little elbow grease won't work out as we go. Now let's work on that cake. And last but not least, before we check on that cake, we put 1 tablespoon of cream, 1 cup of almonds, half a cup of sugar, and on the bottom we put a half a cup of butter melted. We're going to be putting that all into a saucepan so it coats together almost like pralines. But we're not going to do that until we bake our cake, or right near the end of it. And then we're going to be putting it on top of the cake. So we'll show you that in a little bit. Right, we're going to put a generous amount of flour on the table to knead this and roll it out a little. Then we're going to be pressing it into the bottom of our spring-loaded pan. Or spring form, whatever the heck you call it. And I am going to be spraying that down with butter first. Let's go get the dough. And it didn't poof up a lot. I also tested it and poked it a little, but it's a lot bigger than it was when I put in. So let's get rolling you out. Right, we don't necessarily have to roll our dough out. We just have to flatten it out like so. Which doesn't take a lot of effort because it is very, very flexible and easy to smush out. So I am going to form a nice round thing. Finally, I'm going to put it in our pan, and I'll show you what it looks like in a minute. Trying to make it even thickness so one edge isn't all super thick and the other edge won't be. That side needs to go out some. Alright. We have it all in the bottom of there. We're going to be putting that in our oven once it's ready at 375 for 20 to 30 minutes. This is just a closer up look at how it's pressed into the bottom of our spring pan. And our oven is still preheating, but once it gets there, we'll put it right in. 30 or 20 minutes. So I should have said that the other way. Right, our oven is up to temperature, and we are going to put this in. Whoa, talk about facial. Push it in the middle of the rack there. We'll set that for 20 minutes. Put it on 30. I might as well just put it on like 25 and keep an eye on it. While that's cooking in the oven, I'm going to get our almond pralines pretty much going on a nice low heat. And they're going to turn into the sticky consistency that if you watch some of our previous videos, Lyricals did. It was really fun to make, but I'll show you here too, don't worry. Alright, the butter and sugar is starting to melt, and I'm going to give that a good little stir every once in a while. It's going to turn into a praline-like solution. And then when it's done, I'll put it on a nice low heat, and we'll set it aside for when the cake is done. I was slightly wrong. The butter ratio to sugar made it a little more oily, so I might put a sprinkle of sugar over it when I put it on the cake to go cook. But for the most part, most of that syrupy stuff in the bottom will soak into the cake and the almonds will get toasted on top of the cake. So, fair enough. Alright, our cake came out. We cut it in half. Some of the filling is coming out, and that's life, I guess. But it tastes good. And then I topped it off with our almond praline stuff. And I guess tomorrow, when it all cools off and settles a little more, we'll taste it. So I'll see you then. Well, this is the reception my cake got at Christmas. That doesn't tell you anything. Nothing ever will. I'll take a moment to mention the Gamers and Geeks Can Cook playlist, an awesome playlist full of all people that can cook like myself. If you want to be in it, well, make a cooking video, mention the playlist, and voila, you're a part of it. Gotta let VG or Japik know, and you can be a part of the playlist and watch all the amazing people there. I hope you all had a Merry Christmas. I hope we have a Happy New Year. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.